Arcturian Group Message. May 19, 2019. Dear ones, we are here to assist you in awakening more deeply to the innate beauty and grace of your divine core essence in spite of the difficult experiences some of you are having at this time. Know that at this point of your evolution, difficult experiences are no longer random but rather represent necessary lessons chosen by you in order to more fully awaken. The familiar world seems to be crumbling both personally and globally, and in truth, it is. Long-held concepts about life are beginning to dissolve as mankind awakens to more evolved ideas. This is serving to create a new world consciousness that can then manifest in higher forms of everything. Every awakened person is automatically seeding the universal collective consciousness with truth. Every truth realized adds more truth and helps to dissolve that which is false. These changes are beginning to penetrate the consciousness of everyone, both those who are awake and those who are not, resulting in the intense outer expressions of fear, hatred, and resistance you are now witnessing. However, there are increasing activities of unconditional love as well. Over time, many masters incarnated on earth for the sole purpose of seeding the collective in order to make new and higher truth available to those ready for and seeking it. Jesus, Buddha, Lao Tzu, etc. were only a few of the many spiritual masters who fed ideas of love and oneness into the collective. You do this every time you choose to know and live truth, instead of three-dimensional concepts about truth. There is only one consciousness, omnipresent divine consciousness, but mankind has allowed beliefs of duality and separation to pollute their personal experience of the one consciousness, which has resulted in the third-dimensional world of pain and suffering, lack and limitation, most have come to accept as normal. Every truth realized automatically helps to dissolve its false component and adds light to the conditioned version of divine consciousness, until eventually the collective will contain more truth and false. Because every person is an expression of divine consciousness, they are creators, creating in every moment with every thought and belief according to their attained state of consciousness. The unawakened are not aware that they are creators and so blame others for their problems, but there really are no victims, just as there are no saviors. Evolution is the free will choice of every person. At this powerful time of awakening, many are choosing to leave because they have realized on the deeper unconscious level that they need more time to attain the frequency levels necessary for ascension. Those who understand what is really taking place are rejoicing, for the spine of dark power over energy is breaking. This is behind the many forms of lashing out you are witnessing. Those enmeshed in fear of change, as well as those who stand to lose their comfortable power over status, are taking actions based in their limited awareness. Do not resist, dear ones, for resistance is the opposite of allowing. At a certain point of evolution, one must consciously allow the divine I Am to express itself through and as you. Spiritual surrender is not the three-dimensional sense of being someone's doormat, but is rather a state of consciousness able to surrender the personal and separate sense of self to the I Am, allowing it to live its life fully, and aware that it doesn't need to be told how to do it. Resistance is natural because over time it has become ingrained in human consciousness. Over lifetimes, men and women both have had no choice but to handle difficult situations through resistance as a matter of survival. However, for the most part you have graduated beyond these types of situations and are ready to embrace truth solutions instead. As with there being only one consciousness, there is likewise only one mind, divine mind. The human mind is the one and only divine mind, but filled with and conditioned by beliefs of duality and separation. Divine mind is and will forever be the only reality, but cannot be known and experienced until recognized as such. The human mind quickly jumps into every situation with suggestions and guidance, much of which is fear-based and drawn from third-dimensional collective consciousness, personal experience, or what it has been taught. Never dismiss or reject the mind for trying to help you based on the concepts of survival it has learned, but rather lovingly begin to educate and evolve the mind through the study and practice of truth. Opening more fully to that infinite source of information within allows the mind to access that, rather than only the three-dimensional collective. Mind interprets your state of consciousness. The mind is an avenue of awareness, a facet of your own divine nature, so never attempt to repress or negate it in the false belief that it is unnecessary or gets in the way of your spiritual journey. The human mind is a wonderful tool, but is not the boss or supreme authority that many still believe it to be. A mind conditioned by third-dimensional beliefs and concepts is only able to present this level to you. When fear-based, negative, or shocking thoughts come, as they do for everyone, often during meditation, know that they are simply thoughts from the collective and never become yours, unless you claim them as yours. Just allow them to float on by without giving them power. If you find that certain types of thoughts are continually bombarding you, it might indicate a need to look deeper. You may still hold some old energy that is in alignment with this particular type of thought. Use these experiences as tools to examine your belief system, which will then allow you to fully clear something you are obviously now ready to release. Some serious spiritual students continue to resist leaving practices that helped them spiritually evolve as beginners, in the belief that these rituals and practices must go on forever in order to spiritually evolve. This is a fear-based concept that can block spiritual growth. There comes a point at which a dependence on rites, rituals, and practices becomes a barrier to further growth. It must be understood that there are no spiritual rules. Spiritual rules were and still are created from three-dimensional consciousness for the purpose of power over, control, and self-righteousness. God knows nothing about man's spiritual rules. The 10 Commandments were given at a time when consciousness was very unevolved and needed rules. Some still need them, but you do not, because you have evolved beyond them. There is only one spiritual rule, and it is unconditional love. The one omnipresent, omnipotent, and omniscient reality is the only spiritual rule, because it is all that exists infinitely, governing itself through and as infinite form, variety, and individuality. Everything else is a concept of this reality. Once you give permission to spiritually evolve, you are more clearly guided. If from a human perspective everything seems to fall apart, trust that a bigger picture is taking place, and allow the process as best you can. The death of the old can be very painful on all levels, and there is a great deal of cellular clearing still taking place for most on one or all levels, physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual. Many come to believe that they are spiritual failures, when after years of serious study and practice, everything in their life seems to collapse. Remember, you can never regress from your attained level of consciousness, so learn to see these experiences not as failures, but rather as necessary facets of your personal journey, events meant to shift your awareness to new levels if you allow it. Karmic relationships are being reactivated in order to be completed and cleared. Old physical injuries and diseases are reappearing as the energy of them flows from cellular memory. Relationships of all kinds are being healed. The three-dimensional eyes of others may see problems and offer you solutions based in that belief system, but you yourself must go within and discover what is really taking place. You are ready to stop looking to others for love, validation, gratitude, friendship, or appreciation, etc. Even from those you would naturally come to expect it. These qualities are God qualities and only God can give them to give you. They flow through others but are never from them, for humans do not have them to give. Learn to seek these things from Source, the only place they exist, and then allow them to manifest as they will, often through those you may least expect it from. When you cease looking to and expecting these things from a particular person or persons, and instead look to Source for them, they will manifest in ways you could not have imagined. Mankind's biggest mistake has been in believing that human beings can give what only God has to give. To look within for everything means to acknowledge that peace, love, abundance, harmony, wholeness, companionship, etc., are divine qualities that can flow through oneself and others when recognized as such. Everything necessary on every level is already present within, and this realization opens the door for what is needed to express outwardly if not conditioned by concepts of how it must look or who it must come from. We are the Arcturian group. Channeled by Marilyn Raphael.